Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Rogue Eye Media. My name is Alex Schlerf, and today we're going to be doing our Thunderbolts preview, the next Marvel movie, next entry from Marvel Studios. I'm labeling this as a Thunderbolts preview. It's going to mostly consist of me ranking my excitement for each of the eight or nine, sorry, main characters of the movie, kind of the ones we know we're going to see a lot and kind of been going along the press tour. But that's kind of going to be the main part of it. So it's a preview in a sense, but I'll talk a little bit about my general hype for the movie in a second, and then kind of go on to this ranking of characters, talk about the film throughout. Obviously, I'm recording this on April 25th. The movie comes out on May 2nd. I already have my tickets to go see it on May 2nd, and I will be doing a both written and video review once this movie comes out, probably Friday, Saturday, or Saturday, Sunday in terms of the release of it, or Monday maybe. So yeah, just real quick, just to give a little bit of background context on how I'm feeling about this movie. When Thunderbolts was announced, I was a bit iffy about it. Just to be perfectly honest, I wasn't too intrigued by the team itself, and now I understand it's kind of the point. But I saw the team, didn't see some of the characters that I wanted to be on the team, like Zemo, or maybe even a Bullseye, or like an Abomination, or just one of the Hulk, Red Hulk, for example. Because the Thunderbolts runs that I've read have been kind of leaning towards the more dark side of the team. One of the I guess this wasn't technically Thunderbolts, but the Dark Reign run in the comics, if anybody knows that run, kind of in the fallout of Secret Invasion, Norman Osborn kind of forms a Dark Avengers Thunderbolts team, and that's kind of the team that I wanted more. That team had like Bullseye and where are some other darker characters in that team? It's just that Venom was on the team, like a lot of darker characters, and that's kind of what I wanted out of a Thunderbolts team. But the more this movie kind of went into production and the more I thought about it and the promo, I kind of realized they're not trying to do that Dark Avengers side of the team. They're doing a more, misfits team, found family. People comparing to the Suicide Squad. It's not like that in the sense that like they're fighting to be killed, but it is like that in the sense that it's a bunch of random team members coming together and trying to form a family. So now that I've kind of seen the promo and kind of thought about it more, I'm super excited with this project. Obviously, we've seen the early reviews of the project. By the way, this is a no spoiler zone. Like I have read no spoilers for this movie. I know the film is screened already, so the post credit scene and the asterisk thing has leaked and all that. I do know what the asterisk is, so I'm not going to talk about that because I don't want to spoil it. But this is a spoiler free zone. Like you can watch this just about getting hyped for the movie. I've not read any spoilers, but anyway, the film has screened early to both critics and fans, and everyone has been praising it completely. And yeah, it's not only the cast of this movie, I'm gonna get into this when I rank the characters, but like you got Florence Pugh, Sebastian Stan, like those are two of the best young, not young, but two of the best actors out there right now. So obviously, like you can trust in that. And then you got people like David Harper, like you got a comedy, horror, emotion, like everything you need. Added on to the fact that you have a lot of creators working on this. We saw from that one trailer that released, you have a lot of creators working this that worked on very good emotional non-superhero projects. The writers of Beef, you got people or writers of The Bear, you got people that worked on Beef, you got people that worked on Everything Everywhere at Once who are scoring the film. A lot of like more unknown indie directors working on a superhero project. And this has happened occasionally in the past, but not really a lot. And clearly they were trying to go with something different for this movie. And based on everything we've heard so far and seen in the promos, and obviously, like I said, the review embargo already released, we're in for a treat. And it really is a film more about mental health and emotion and heart than just an average superhero movie. That's the way it seems from the reviews. I'm not going to go too much into the reviews, but again, this is spoiler free zone. I've not read spoilers out of it. I've known kind of for a while, just because of a leak a while back, what that asterisk title is going to be. But feel free to leave in the comments what you think it's going to be if you haven't read any leaks yet, because it's a really cool thing. I think people are going to be excited about it. But and that to say the same thing, like if anyone drops any spoilers in the comments or in the replies, like to a tweet that I make, I'm just going to delete them because I want people to be able to get hyped about this film without reading the spoilers. So please, if you've seen the movie, do not spoil it because like there's people like me who want to watch the movie and not have the entire plot revealed. Like if you want to do that, cool, do it on your own time. Don't spoil it for anyone else. So yeah, I'm super excited for this movie, mainly because the promos. Like, I was excited for it generally when I kind of thought about it more and learned more about the creators and stuff like that. But the promos have been amazing. Everything they've done for it. Not even like the press tour because that's kind of hasn't really gotten underway yet. But all the trailers have sold me. The teasers, kind of the descriptions we've heard from when they showed footage at CinemaCon, like all this stuff has really sold me on this project. So I'm very excited for this. We got Fantastic Four coming out later this year, which is like much more personal to me because that's my favorite superhero team of all time. So that's kind of like in a different tier than this. But like this is by far, besides from Fantastic Four and I guess Daredevil, but that's a TV show, my most anticipated Marvel project this year. I'm super excited for Thunderbolts. So yeah, just with that being said, I'm going to get into my ranking. I have nine of the characters here in the movie, and obviously there's like the six kind of main team, and there's a couple other ones that I'm adding on here as well. Just kind of want to give them some shine, but I rank them from least excited to see and most excited. And I'm not really judging this by how much I like the characters. Like that's not really what my ranking is. It's more, and I'll get into it once I get to each character, but it's more like who am I most excited to see? Like their development as a character more. What am I looking forward to seeing? It's really that. It's really just that. It's just the development of the character. Who am I most excited to see in terms of the development? Obviously, liking them as well as part of it, but who, in terms of like what they're going to do with their character in this movie, who am I excited about the most? And like just to be clear, like all of these characters, I'm excited to see. Like I'm very excited to see this ensemble cast and just the movie in general, but. I just thought it'd be fun to rank them and kind of get into each character and maybe their psyche and do some mini predictions. Like I said, besides from the asterisk thing, like I have not read any leaks or plot about this movie. Like I can discern some things based off the teasers and some relevant comics and just like what we generally know about what the story they're trying to tell. But like that's all coming from just my brain. Like that is not a leak, so you don't have to worry about that. Anyway, let's get into it. So, number nine in my Thunderbolts ranking is Mel, played by Geraldine Viswanathan. I like her as an actor, and there's kind of a maybe potential connection that'll come in here, but she's just kind of the character that is like has the least interest. It sounds like she's kind of just the assistant to Val, which should be interesting to see that dynamic. And like I said, I've seen her in a couple other things, and I think she's a great actor, but. I just like there's not much here. Like we're not going to see her a lot. I don't think they're trying to do a lot with her character. Um, Mini spoiler alert, but in the comics she becomes Songbird, which is like an actual superhero. So I'd be curious to see if they're going to adapt that. Maybe that's something they would just save for like a future movie. Maybe they'll just tease it a little bit. But we did see in one of the promos that she has a Songbird necklace. I don't know if that's just like a fun reference or whatever. They also asked her about Songbird in an interview recently, and she kind of like was a bit cagey about it. So that'd be really interesting. I don't think she's gonna like appear in this, like become Songbird in this movie because we already got so much going on. But it would be really interesting if she becomes Songbird because that's a good character. I'm not gonna go much into that because it's kind of just a comics thing, but that would move her up on my intrigue list. Like if that's gonna happen, then that'd be really interesting to me. But I just don't know if it will. So kind of just in this movie, she seems just to be Val's assistant, and to me, that's not really a storyline where I'm saying anything higher than like last in this list because of these other characters. So yeah, not much to say about Mel besides from that. So that's number nine. Number eight, I have Red Guardian. That might be a little controversial. And again, I want to make clear I'm excited for all the characters in this movie, but I'm just ranking them by what I think they're going to do with each character. And to me, Alexei is kind of just like a more of a comedic side character and somebody that has a familial connection to Yelena. From what we've seen from the teasers, I don't think Val knows of Red Guardian. I think Yelena kind of just brings him in because she's having problems and stuff like that. We heard her narration in the trailer and all that. So I don't think they're going to do as much development with his character compared to the others, and that's kind of what this ranking is for. But like in terms of my excitement for his character, I think he's hilarious. David Harbour is the best. We've seen clips from the trailer, like the clip of where they're in the room with Bucky and Bucky goes, "You got some place to be," and he just laughs. Every time we see that in the trailer is that moment of him laughing is it just I just am dying laughing. It's hilarious. So yeah, like I'm excited to see him because he's just a hilarious character. I'm sure the action scenes with him will be fun. I enjoyed him in Black Widow, not like an insane amount, but I enjoyed him. And I'm interested to see the kind of the fatherly dynamic that he has with Florence Pugh and Yelena. She'll be obviously later on this list, but yeah, I just put him right here because like I'm not really seeing I'm not really thinking they're going to do a lot of development with him and do a lot of complex stuff with his character, but um I'm trying to be like I don't know spoilers, but I know a little bit about the characters in this movie and one specific character that I'll talk with later, so I'll just not get into that. But anyway, I'm excited to see Red Guardian because he's hilarious and it's a fun character. David Harbour is great, but I'm not sure they're going to do much with him, kind of mentally. So that's why I'm leaving him down at eight. But not excited, just like not sure if I'm excited as about him as the rest of the characters. So next at number seven is John Walker, very similar to Lexi in the sense that a lot of John's development, I think, was told in Falcon Winter Soldier and kind of from his transformation into the new Captain America to U.S. agent that we know now. Um, we did see a shot in the trailer where John's kind of reading an article about I think it said like the fall of a hero or something like that, the John Walker story. I think it was something like that. Um, and that shows that they're going to do a little bit of delving into his character, and I'm kind of excited to see how he deals with that and what the actual fallout of the whole U.S. agent Captain America thing was. We saw a lot of that in Falcon Winter Soldier, and then we kind of pick up at the end where Val comes and recruits him. So that's kind of leading right into this movie, obviously. So I'll be curious to see his interactions with Val and kind of how he goes against her because we figure from that scene in Avengers Tower that they're all going to kind of team up and go against Val, and I'm curious to see what leads to that and what kind of John's thinking process is after he sees all these other heroes in that vault scene, which I'm assuming is going to be one of the first scenes in the movie. So that part I'm curious about, but Walker as a character in general, I think, is somewhat one-dimensional. And it's nothing to do with like the actor. I think Wyatt Russell's great at playing him. It's hard to play a character like that. It's supposed to be so unlikable, but he plays him great, and it looks like he's gonna do a great performance in this movie as well. And in Doomsday, we know that he's gonna be in that. So I am excited to see him play in this kind of sandbox again, and again see his thought process throughout the movie. But in terms of like the complex themes in this movie, I don't think they're delving too much into him specifically. That's kind of going to be a common theme with these first couple names, but that's just kind of how it is. So yeah, I am excited to see John because I think he's a good character, and I do think Wyatt Russell's great in that role. Because like I said, like his goal in Falcon Winter Soldier was to make everyone hate him by the end of it, and he succeeded because people were like sending hate his way, which I don't condone at all. But he's been very open and honest about that, and I know he's going to put in a great performance in this movie. So John is at 7, but still like all these characters excited for. Number 6 is Val. I'm kind of I do like these kind of villain-like characters that are number one don't have superpowers. Like she's similar to Zemo in that sense. Zemo is could be my favorite MCU villain ever, and definitely one of my favorite villains in general in the comics and in live action. But it's kind of that Zemo-like character where she's kind of pulling strings behind the scenes, and it'll be interesting to see how she responds when the Thunderbolts do confront her again in that Avengers Tower scene. I haven't watched the clips of this movie. I know there was a clip of that released the other day, but I didn't see it. So yeah, I like Julie Louis-Dreyfus in this role. She's a lot of fun playing this character, and again, like she's kind of the mastermind behind all this. I mean, you see in the main poster, she's kind of sitting in the chair, and the Thunderbolts are all behind her. I'm very curious to see how she handles her relationship to all these characters and then also to Bob to Sentry, who I'm going to get to in a second. And I think that again, like seeing a villain like her who is pulling strings behind the scenes is something that always intrigues me a lot. And just from what little we've seen from the trailers of her, I'm kind of curious to see how she works on political side and with the Thunderbolts and kind of how we leave her in this movie and how it all ends for her and how this kind of plan that she has breaks down. I'm very curious to see how that all plays out. Um, and yeah, we saw the scenes of her in Congress talking about the Avengers and that the Avengers won't save them. So that's kind of a really interesting thing to see how she comes across Bob and how what her kind of plan is in all this. And one of the biggest intrigues is obviously how she came to buying Avengers Tower as well. Like what led to her getting Avengers Tower and why did she do that? And what was her plan for that? And why haven't we learned about it until now? You know, like Avengers Tower has been up in the air of who bought it for like 5 years in the MCU. You know, people thought it was the Baxter Building, Fantastic Four. We know that's not true. Some people thought it was the Mephisto bought it. A bunch of other theories going on about Avengers Tower, but we finally know that Val was the one who bought it. So getting into that in this movie is something I'm really intrigued about. And Julia Louis Dreyfus, that is a mouthful of a name, is obviously an amazing actor, and it's going to be a lot of fun to see her in this movie, and also to see her play off with Mel, Geraldine Viswanathan's character. Like I'm interested to see their dynamic too. Maybe I'm the only one who's interested in that, but I'm very interested to see her become the kind of like terrible boss. Like I'm assuming that's how that dynamic's going to go. So yeah, Val's at 6. Number 5 is Taskmaster. And I'm sure that's also a controversial opinion in itself. I'm going to talk a little bit about this, so bear with me. So, obviously, Taskmaster is a very popular character in the comics and is a very versatile character. Crosses over with a lot of big villains, a lot of big characters. You know, has been with Spider-Man and Iron Man, and obviously we saw her in the Black Widow movie. Like, Taskmaster is a great character, and there has been a lot of hate hurled her way because the character was gender swapped, and if anyone provided like a substantial argument for why it's a problem that she's a woman, then I would like listen to that wholeheartedly. But it just seems like sexism to me, like to be honest. So obviously, Taskmaster was not well received in Black Widow. I think that Taskmaster was fine in Black Widow. I thought that the heel turn and learning of her connection to the main villain Dreykov and her connection to the Red Room and all that, I thought that was kind of fine. It felt kind of messy and kind of strange, but I did like the character overall. Like I've never been a huge Taskmaster guy in the comics, but like I did like her character. I thought it was interesting, and I definitely was intrigued to see her, explored in more in another movie, and that's why she's in number 5. But like the thing is that now they're getting closer to this movie. They've been playing with her in the promos, and she hasn't showed up too much. And in some of the teasers where they kind of show the names of the whole team, sometimes she shows up, sometimes she doesn't. She's been cut out of a lot of shots. We've seen all that. Like I know people are basically just going, she's gonna die. Everyone's like, she's gonna die. Marvel wants to get rid of her and bring in the real Taskmaster. Like these are thoughts that are just like not realistic. Like you really think that Marvel's going to kill off a female character and bring, it's the same thing as Silver Surfer. Like you really think Marvel's going to kill off a female character and bring in a male character? Like it's just not how it works. Like that's not how companies think. Like maybe if there's a narrative reason for it, sure, but they're not just not showing it for no reason. Like the director literally said, Drake Schreier, the director, I think that's how you say his name. He said they're intentionally doing this with Taskmaster in the trailers, which to me is like, wow, my intrigue has gone up by a bunch because even though I was already intrigued to see her again and see where we kind of left her in Black Widow and to see where she comes in here and how she fits in with the other team members and maybe even was able to bond with those team members. I'll get into that in a second, but like that already had me excited for Taskmaster, and now I'm even more excited because there's clearly something going on here with her character, and there's a reason she hasn't been being shown with the team in the trailers. Maybe she's working for Val. Maybe she's working for a third party. Maybe she's working for herself. Maybe she's fighting against our Thunderbolts team. It isn't actually on the team. Like we haven't really seen her actually with the Thunderbolts aside from that vault scene, which again I think is one of the at the beginning of the movie, one of the first scenes of the movie. So like I'm very intrigued to see what's her motivation to this movie? What not only like her psyche and what she's thinking after the end of Black Widow and what she's been up to since then. We got the new suit and all that, but like what are her motivations now and what is she working for one side? Is she working for the other? Like I think that's a very interesting thing to play with. And I'm not saying she's not going to die in this movie. Like there's obviously a chance, but if she does die, it's not just going to be like a quota thing from Marvel where they're like, "Oh, it's a female character everyone hates. We're going to kill her off and bring in the male version." Like I think maybe we'll see I think Tony is his name, Anthony Masters maybe. Alicia Masters is the version we get in the MCU. Let me just look up this real quick. Taskmaster real name. Yeah, Anthony Tony Masters. So people were like, we're gonna bring in Tony Masters and Alicia's gonna be gone. Like I maybe, but like there has to be a narrative reason for it. Like Marvel doesn't just kill people just to kill people. As much as people believe that, there has never been an example of them just killing a big name character. I mean, Taskmaster debatably a big name character, but you know what I mean? Like they're not gonna just do it for no reason. So I think I know she was in the Doomsday announcement too, and I touched on this in my last Marvel video about the Doomsday cast announcement, but like I think that they're not doing this for no reason. They're not playing around with her role in the trailers just to say, oh, she's just not gonna be this. Like they wouldn't do that. There's just no point in doing that. So I'm very curious to see what her angle is in this movie because we know so little about her role in this movie, and that in itself intrigues me because I was already intrigued to see what she's been up to since Black Widow and how she kind of moves into the story and when we first see her in the story. And I'm curious to see if she kind of is able to bond with anyone in this team if she is working for our team. Like a lot of characters in this team that I'm going to get into in a second, like Yelena and Ghost, they've kind of gone through trauma like Taskmaster has, and I'm curious to see if that they kind of play off each other and if that trauma is a way to kind of work with the mental health of each character. Like I'm very curious to see if they explore that, and even if they don't, like again, she's at 5 here because I just know so little about what they're going to do with her, and the director confirming that they're intentionally playing around with editing out in the trailers and sometimes showing her name, sometimes not, like and not showing her as one of the main team. Like the fact the director has addressed that and said for sure that they are doing that on purpose. I'm very interested to see what they do with her character, and we'll know soon. And I would be completely shocked if they just said, "Oh, she's a female character. People didn't like her. We're gonna kill her off." Like she might die. She's not in the Doomsday Cast announcements. Like there's a chance that she will die, and that would not surprise me. But I don't think it's going to be for not a narrative reason. And I do think she's going to have a fair amount of screen time in this movie, and we're going to kind of really delve into her character and see, again, what she's been up to since Black Widow. Why does she get into this conflict? Why does she fit in with the Thunderbolts? Is she working for Val? Like all these different things. I'm very, very, very curious to see what's going on there. And yeah, that's why Taskmaster's at five. I mean, I just talked about her for like five minutes. Like I'm very curious to see what they do with her. So she's a number five. Um, Number four, this was tough because this one was like a combination of the two factors that I said at the beginning, both a character that I like and a character that I'm interested to see what they do with. Because number four is Bucky, Winter Soldier, and in terms of like characters that I like, he's obviously way up there. Like Winter Soldier, he's been in every phase of the MCU. Such a likable character. Sebastian Stan is just an amazing actor, like a very likable guy. Obviously he was just nominated for an Oscar, very talented and all that. But I think the thing with Bucky is that like we've reached the point with him where like Falcon and Winter Soldier from episode one to episode six or whatever it was to the finale, like we really explored him there. Like that was breaking down the character Winter Soldier, exploring his past and his present, his dynamic with Sam Wilson, like all that felt like kind of his final character arc. And then we're kind of just anytime he appears from now, it's just like, hey, Bucky's here. Like again, also what we've seen from the trailers, like it doesn't seem like they're really going to go too much into his complex character psyche. It doesn't seem that way. But again, maybe in hindsight, I should have put him further down the list. But like, he's just such a good character, and I love seeing Bucky. And I do think that there could be some scenes in this that see Bucky and Yelena, who again I'm going to talk about in a second. Um, there are some scenes where I think Bucky and Yelena can interact, and that dynamic, and them kind of exploring their history as heroes and kind of heroes for hire, even for a sense, with Yelena, kind of what we saw her do in Hawkeye, and then Bucky just is a Winter Soldier. We know how much trauma he's gone through. I think that could be really interesting. So I think that part of Bucky will be explored more, but the rest of it is just like he's just an amazing character. Like he's just gonna be a lot of fun to see him in the action scenes. We've seen a lot in the promos, that scene of the Thunderbolts in the Red Guardian limo, and then Bucky chasing them. Like that scene just looks amazing. I cannot wait to see that on a big screen and in full, not cut up like we have seen in the trailers. So I'm just very curious about the direction of that scene and when it is. But anyway, really, Bucky's a number four because he's just such a good legacy character. I love Sebastian Stan. I've learned to like him a lot more in recent years, to be honest, just because of some of his recent roles that he's done. So talented, such a fun actor to see on a press tour, like all of that. Again, I'm not sure they're going to be, you know, doing as much with his character compared to someone like Taskmaster or someone like Val or someone like even John Walker or even Alexei. But it's Bucky. Like you got to just put him high on this list. He's so much fun, and I think the director also said there was going to be kind of a couple different leaders of this team, but he did mention Bucky as one of the leaders, and we kind of got that dynamic with when again the scene I talked about earlier where Alexei's laughing. And Bucky's kind of saying, there's a big threat out there and I want you to help me. Maybe that's cut up in the trailer and stuff, but like clearly he is going to be kind of the one bringing them all together and kind of leading them into Avengers Tower. That's how I see it. So yeah, that'll be also interesting to see Bucky like leading a team. We've never seen that before, and that's kind of the whole point of this movie is like seeing characters be put in places that you wouldn't imagine them being in. So yeah, Bucky's number four. Interested to see him. Love Sebastian Stan, another guy who will be back in Doomsday. Can't wait to see that. Did I say Sam? Oh, Sebastian Stan. I completely messed up my head there. All right. So number three, is Ghost, Ava Starr, and Ghost is one of those characters that like I don't think has as much intrigue to more of a general Marvel fan, but just to me personally, I have always loved Ghost in the comics. It's to me one of the most underrated comic characters. Whenever Ghost shows up in the comics, I do have a lot of intrigue with that character. And obviously they've changed it a little bit compared to the comics. Because obviously in the comics, Ghost is depicted as a male, so it's another one of those gender swap characters. But like the gender of Ghost means nothing to the character. Like honestly, I think making Ghost a female makes the character even more interesting. But anyway, I've always loved reading Ghost in the comics and different runs. So I was really excited when she got introduced in the MCU in Ant-Man and the Wasp, but I felt she was really underutilized in that movie, and she was honestly my favorite part about that movie. And the thing about Ghost is like the reason I like her so much is that number one, the powers are just so cool, like genuinely like top 5, 10 power sets in the MCU. I love the phasing, and we've seen the shots in the trailer of her in the vault scene where she's phasing through and punching people and like holding her own against everybody in there. I just thought that scene looks amazing. I can't wait to see her powers be done and choreographed on screen. That's my number one intrigue for her, obviously. And number two, the new suit. Like the new suit looks amazing. The suit in Ant-Man and the Wasp was fine. Like it was okay, but this suit looks like super crisp and a lot more similar and darker, you know, like the comic counterpart, which I think is interesting. And number three is like again, I thought she was underutilized in terms of her story in Quantumania in Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second Ant-Man movie. And I want to see how she's kind of dealt with what happened in Ant-Man and the Wasp because we know at the end of the movie she doesn't have her phasing powers healed completely, but Michelle Pfeiffer's character helps her control it, and we see her doing it in a much more what's the word I'm looking for? In a much more calculated. That's what I'm looking for. In a much more calculated way in the few shots we've seen of her in action in Thunderbolts. And I'm interested to see how she deals with that and kind of with her phasing powers and how she's kind of got much more of a handle over it now. And also the trauma she's experienced. Like we know she had that connection with Lawrence Fishburne's character in Ant-Man and the Wasp. I think there's a chance that he could appear in this movie as kind of a surprise cameo, so to speak. Um, and I'm just curious to see how she potentially works with the other characters in this team because like every character on this team, from Yelena to Red Guardian, like they've all dealt with their own personal challenges, and I want to see how they tackle that with Ava. Hannah John Kamen is amazing playing Ghost. I love her in this role, and yeah, I just want to see them explore her powers more and her story more because I felt like she was underutilized in Men of the Wasp, and this is one of the things that's again just personal to me because I've always liked reading Ghost and it's one of those characters which like was a dream for me to see shown in a movie to like see those powers come from the comic panel to the screen. And I think they did it well in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And again, from what we've seen from these trailers, like her action scenes are going to be amazing. And that's one of my number one. And that's easily my number one intrigue for her is to see those powers on screen with the new suit. And again, I think it's going to be interesting to see her personal problems and her dealing with what happened in Ant-Man and the Wasp. And again, it's been a while since that movie too. I mean, that movie came out in 2018. So what has Ava been up to since that movie? And how did she get involved with Val? Is she just simply a contract killer? That's possible. But still, how did she get involved with Val? How is she going to kind of going to try to learn from these new Thunderbolts? Like, how is that going to all play out? I'm very intrigued by it specifically for her because I just love her as a character. So Ghost is at number three. Number two is Bob slash Sentry. Um, I'm just gonna give a fair warning here. I'm gonna be very careful with what I say about this character because I know there's been a lot of mystery about the character in the trailers and they're kind of only showing it a little bit. I have read some Sentry comics, so I know the character of Bob Sentry. Like I know a little bit about it. So if you really want to go in blind with this character, like maybe just skip this part. There's going to be timestamps in the video. But yeah, I think that this character as a villain with its ties to the Void and his own mental problems. The Void, by the way, I'm talking about not like the Void from Devil Wolverine. It's a whole different thing. And again, if you want to go in blind, don't listen to this. But I just think it's so interesting and I'll talk about this more when I actually see the movie. But I think it's so interesting they paired that with this movie that is kind of a little bit of mental health and emotion, and doing a villain in Century that is so mentally unstable is such a good pair for this team. I mean, I know a lot of people have been hating on it and been saying like, well, what are the Thunderbolts going to do against the Superman characters? Making people disappear and like, first off, watch the movie. Like, dude, like don't make a judgment when you know nothing about the character. But like, second off, it works perfectly with these characters because of the theme of mental health. And again, if you don't know about Sentry, it's going to be confusing, but like there's a side of him that is very mentally unstable, like I said, and exploring that character with these that's one of the reasons they got kind of these creatives on the team, the creatives that have worked on very intricate non-superhero shows like Beef and the Bear, like these are shows that are exploring a lot of characters and regular grounded characters and that's what they're trying to do with this movie clearly and that's why they brought in Sentry as a villain. So like that dynamic alone and to see how he kind of becomes this supervillain type character and how Val kind of manipulates him because that's how it seems it's going to be from what we've seen in the promos. There's a shot in one trailer of him destroying a cup and she's right there. So kind of seeing how Val manipulates him, and then just past that, like seeing him in action, like seeing that character in action scenes. We've seen very small glimpses of it in the trailers, but I'm excited to see it on a big screen and how they portray his powers. To see the suit, obviously the suit kind of leaked in a Funko Pop. To actually see the suit in the big screen, to see Lewis Pullman is I think a very underrated actor, and I think he's not been in a lot of notable roles, so I understand why people don't really know about his acting chops. But like from the early reviews of this movie, we've heard about Florence Pugh, who's obviously going to be next, and I'm going to be talking about next, and Lewis Pullman. Like they've said, those are the standout performances, and those are going to be kind of the two focuses of the story. It's not a coincidence that I put them one and two, obviously, but yeah, I think Bob Sentry. I'm saying Bob to Sentry because like we know him as Bob, but the comics we know he's going to become Sentry in this movie. So I think he's such an interesting character and works so well as a villain in this movie. I think Lewis Pullman was great casting. Obviously Stephen Yeun would have been amazing in this role as well, but Lewis Pullman's going to be great as well. And I think that they're going to set him up to be a very important character in Doomsday because of that power set. Again, we know he's returning in Doomsday like the rest of this team except for Taskmaster, and I guess Val and Mel. But that's going to be also interesting to see where we find him at the end of this movie and how we're moving forward with him. Like how are they going to get him under control and get him to be on their side? Like that's going to be so interesting, and I cannot wait to see how that plays out. It's a week away. I can't wait. It's going to be such a tough thing to wait for. But yeah, again, we're tiptoeing around the character itself and not spoiling too much about it from what I know just from the source material. We're in for a treat to see how they explore him in this movie. And again, all the early reviews, pretty much every single one I've seen has said Lewis Pullman is a standout as Bob Century. So, you know, if you trust what people are saying, both fans and critics alike, we're in for a treat. So I think yeah, that's why he's number two. Again, being a little cagey about it because I said this is spoiler free zone, so I'm leaving that out there. But he, as a villain in this movie, and kind of I guess is going to become a bit of an anti-hero we might expect. I'm just so curious to see that and his dynamic with Val and the rest of our team. So yeah, Century's number two and number one top billing. Obviously, we know Florence Pugh as Yelena. Um, it's funny because like I'm gonna be perfectly honest, like before Black Widow came out, I had not read really any comics with Yelena in it. Like I was aware of her and I knew her relationship with Natasha and all that. And but I kind of went into Black Widow blind. I didn't really know anything about the character. And at that point, I didn't really know much about Florence Pugh either because I hadn't seen her in a lot of roles that I have at this point now. 5 years later or whatever since that movie came out. But Black Widow to me was like a fine movie. She was the best part of that movie. She was amazing in Black Widow. And then you get to Hawkeye, like I got the Hawkeye shirt on today, obviously. And you get to Hawkeye and her dynamic with obviously Kate and specifically Kate, but a lot of the other characters in that film. And yeah, I mean, I think Florence Pugh is the top billing and the main attraction in this movie for a reason. Like she is a star talent. She is by far one of the best young actors in Hollywood right now. And Marvel pushing all their chips in with Yelena, I thought was a great idea and a genius idea. She is just such an amazing actor, and this character of Yelena, she's funny, she's emotional, she's complicated, complex. Like there's so many things interesting about her that like I know that maybe a couple of people would put Bob over her because she's just more of a grounded character, but like she is going to be our point of view and our main character in this movie. We've seen her the most in all the trailers. Like I said, she's top billing because it's Florence Pugh. Like I'm so interested to see her dynamic with all the other team members, to see if she I have a feeling that she's going to be kind of connecting with a lot of the characters in the team because what we've heard from her narrations, the trailers, and the promos, she is dealing with a lot of her own personal problems. So she could use the help of these other people that have similarly suffered trauma and suffered like she has, especially recently. And we saw how Hawkeye ended. I'm not spoilers. That show came out 4 years ago. Go watch it. But we saw with Hawkeye, she was this vengeful character that was manipulated by Val to go attack Clint, and instead she found that it was not off sound basis that she should be going to kill Clint, and she found a friend in Kate, and I'm very curious to see after that and when what we saw with her there what happened from the end of that to Thunderbolts, where she's kind of working still as a contract killer. Like, did she not change her ways? Is she thinking about changing her ways? And again, Florence is like the number one person to play that out. I mean, Florence is not like she is a someone who's going to be nominated for a lot of awards in the future. Like she is by far, I mean, if you're talking about like top 5 to 10 young actors in Hollywood right now, she is by far easily on that list. And in general, this cast is just amazing. But again, she's top billing for a reason. She plays this character of Yelena to perfection. And again, like this is a character that I've gone back since I saw Black Widow and Hawkeye and read some comics with her in it, but like as someone who does not have a huge personal connection to her as a character and just in terms of like the source material, she has by far become one of my favorite MCU characters and easily like top three characters introduced in this saga. The post Endgame saga. She's just such a fun character, and like I know that like what we saw of her in Hawkeye is gonna be different than what we see of her in this movie, but like I mean, that episode in Hawkeye that she's in there interacting with Kate, and even the finale as well. Like I've rewatched that so many times. I mean, I'm wearing the shirt. I got the poster. Like you know that I love Hawkeye. But she works so well in that movie in that show, and I instantly fell in love with her character from that. And obviously, like I said, Florence Pugh is amazing in that role. And again, another one of those things where we've seen early reviews from critics and fans, and you know when critics are singling out a performance from a superhero actor, that we're in for a treat with that performance. Because like studio or sorry, not studios, film critics are typically not really looking at individual performances when they're looking at comic book movies, but like there's been a lot of Lewis Pullman, but by far Florence Pugh has been the number one praise from this movie. So I'm so intrigued to see her play this character again. You know, we're gonna see her twice in a year basically with Thunderbolts and then Doomsday. So that's just so exciting and to see her connect with the rest of the team and see her be kind of be a mini leader of this team as well. Like how is she going to handle the fact that these characters will be looking up to her even though she can't fly, she doesn't have lightning power, she doesn't have super speed, like she's just a regular person that is trained to be a killer. How is she going to evolve from that to a leader of a team and somebody who can work well with these others that are all going to have to come together and fight this huge conflict, this huge supervillain in Sentry and um some of those scenes involving Sentry, again, no spoilers, I just know are going to be amazing. So yeah, Florence Pugh as Yelena Belova is number one. And yeah, I mean, just to wrap this up, I mean, like I said, like I'm ranking these, but I'm so excited to see all these characters. So many of these characters are ones that like it's hilarious because like I've been saying throughout this whole thing, a lot of these characters are people that I have not read a lot of source material from, like not a lot of comics from. I mean, like I have my favorites, Young Avengers, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man. Like I have my favorites and stuff, and those are the ones like and X-Men. Those are the kind of people I prefer. But like the Thunderbolts in general are a team that I've read some stuff from, but this team specifically is so creative and is so um dissimilar in the source material in a good way. Like I don't think we've ever seen a team like this in the comics. We'll obviously get tie-in comics now that they've been together, but I think pairing this team together and this group of actors and this group of superheroes, it seems like it's going to work out really well and be a really fun dynamic and be equal parts a comedy movie and just like a genuinely emotional exploration of mental health. That's what we've heard from the reviews, and you can read them. Like I promise you, I'm not just making this up. That's what people have been saying. So tears might be shed. It might be an emotional watch. And yeah, I'm so it's really cool that and we'll get out of here in a second, but like it's really cool that just this phase, a lot of concerns about this phase for people has been like there's not enough ample build up for Doomsday and Secret Wars. And like I get it to an extent. I'm not sure I totally agree with it, but I get it to an extent because of the whole pivot to RDJ and the Russos and all that. But like it is going to be a lot of fun to know that like we'll be watching this movie and everybody in this movie basically will be in the next Avengers movie. So not only will this be its own story, and I heard a lot of people saying like this story is very disconnected. Like not in the sense that like it just like doesn't reference any MCU events. Like obviously it does. It's a team up movie, but like until the end, we've been hearing about this crazy post credit scene. Until that, until this asterisk, I just can't say that word. This asterisk gets worked out, and we figure out what that is. Like it seems like this movie is going to be very standalone. It can be watched without too much prior knowledge. So that's an exciting thing in itself. But even then, again, like this movie is going to lead right into Doomsday. We know that for sure because all the characters except for Taskmaster, Val, and Mel, we know for sure are going to be in Doomsday. And by the way, like Taskmaster could still be in Doomsday. Like I would not be surprised. I put her in very likely in my Doomsday cast announcement. Go watch that, or in my Doomsday cast announcement video. Go watch that video. But we know that they will connect directly into Doomsday, and I'm hoping that this movie does very well critically and commercially, and people fall in love with these characters because that'll do wonders for Doomsday as well. But yeah, like that's the other thing about this is that we have been hearing that the second there's two post credit scenes in this movie, and we've been hearing that the second one is absolutely nuts. I have not seen anything about it yet. I'm gonna just steer clear of it as much as I can. And again, I'm not gonna talk about it in this episode because I literally don't know what it is, and I don't want people to get spoiled. I'm sure you can find it if you it's out there. If you want to find it, I'm sure you can. Please don't spoil it for the rest of us. Um, I can talk about that slightly. Like I just it's curious to me because like it seems to be something that like I wouldn't be able to predict. Like it doesn't seem like it'll be something where it's like I can't say that. It isn't. It's like it's got to connect to Doomsday. Like I clearly that's the one thing I do know. Like it's like whatever this post credit scene is, it is going to connect directly to Doomsday, and not in the way that like just the Thunderbolts would be in Doomsday. So like I'm just thinking, I'm like, okay, what is going to be the situation there? Like what could connect to Doomsday? And I like we know Fantastic Four is coming out in like 3 months, so like it wouldn't be any of that because like obviously those characters they're not gonna have them debut another post credit scene. At least I'm assuming that's not gonna be the case. So like a first look at Doom, maybe like that was kind of my first thought, but then I'm just like, why? Like what would Doom? How does Doom fit into to this film? Like with these characters, like I don't know. Unless it's just one of those post credit scenes that like is completely disconnected to the actual movie itself. It's kind of just a tease, but the reception from the post credit scene has been like saying that it feels connected and makes the MCU feel interconnected. So I feel like it has to have something to do with the Thunderbolts and like what happens to them in this movie. So I'm just like, I don't know. And it's exciting. Like I'm glad pretty much every time I go into an MCU movie, I somehow get the post credit scene spoiled, even though I'm not looking for it because people are annoying on social media. But we had 7 days ago. I still have not seen. I know what the asterisk is. I've known that for a while, but like I still don't know what this post credit scene is going to be, besides from the fact that it's going to set up Doomsday, which is like obviously. So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy the movie itself and then not really think about that too much, but we'll see what that is, and I'll talk about that on my review when we do a spoiler section. But yeah, so there you go. That is my preview for Thunderbolts. I'm so excited. Please go support this movie. I haven't even seen this movie yet, but I'm assuming I'm gonna like it. So go support this movie. Go out and see it. It's May 2nd in my country. It's in the United States. It's probably earlier in other countries, but yeah, like I said, I'll be back here next week for a written review for Thunderbolts on Roguei Media, and then a video review for Roguei Media either Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. I'm not sure when, and then clips throughout the week. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'm very excited for Thunderbolts. Asterisk. I should be saying that when I'm saying the title. Very excited for this movie, and yeah, we are the Thunderbolts.